Hello and welcome back to another Monster Monday, a series where I draw a creature from D&D and I talk about its lore and its history and what it's like to fight in-game as well. Now these videos are based on your suggestions which you leave me down in the comments section below, and I take every single one of your suggestions, whether it's homebrew, something that you want in the game, if it's from one of the standard books or if it's something like Kobold Press or something else that is applicable for 5th edition, and I add it to a to-draw list, and then I hand that to-draw list over to my patrons over on Patreon. And every single one of my patrons, they tip me the price of a cup of tea all the way up to the very, very top levels, all get an equal vote on which monsters they'd like to see me draw next and talk about next. So if that sounds interesting to you, if you'd like to support the channel in a very, very personal way, if you'd like to tip me for making this content, and you'd like more control over the videos that you see from me, please make sure to head over to Patreon. Now, today's suggestion, the Grung, was first suggested by Maniac is Decent in the YouTube comments, and I'm really excited about this one. So, let's draw some Grung, shall we? So as I alluded to in the intro there, today's episode is going to be a really special one, because the Grung are a species that not too many people know too much about. And that's because, unlike almost every other creature that I've covered so far, the Grung are one of the few species unique to 5th edition. That's right, these guys, these adorably evil little guys, saw their first entry into D&D through Volo's Guide to Monsters, published in 2016, and are therefore one of the youngest species in the whole D&D canon. So hopefully this episode will be really useful for people hoping to use these creatures for the first time, even if they have loads and loads of years under their belt and various editions of D&D experience on their role-playing CVs. So the first thing to note about the Grung is that they are really easy to underestimate. Like, just do me a favour. If you own Volo's Guide, turn to page 157 just now. Take a second and tell me that these little guys are not completely adorable looking. For those of you without the book who are just watching me draw as I go, the Grung are small amphibious humanoids that resemble poison dart or poison arrow tree frogs. And what I wanted to say next was to elaborate on that. I wanted to say something like specifically X, Y, or Z species of poison arrow or poison dart frogs were used as the reference, the inspiration for these creatures, but I was absolutely flabbergasted to learn that poison arrow or poison dart frogs, just like the Grung, can come in all sorts of amazing and beautiful and vibrant, almost neon colours, while still being a part of the exact same species. In the same capacity that we might have different skin colours, but the poison dart frogs come in resplendent blues, bright reds, vibrant greens, or searing yellow tones. Some, like the strawberry poison dart frogs, have a beautiful gradient from an orangey red colour all over to a deep royal blue colour just on their limbs. And all of these wonderful displays are what's known as aposematic coloration, a phenomenon that you'll be intrinsically aware of, but you may never have heard mentioned before. I don't know. I'm not your mums. I didn't raise you. So aposematic coloration is a term used to describe those creatures who warn predators who might try and eat them of their potential harm with vibrant, almost luminous colours. Things like wasps being bright yellow and black, some fungi being bright red, snakes having stripes of yellows and reds and whites and blacks. In the case of the poison dart frog, it's a clear warning that rather than evolving to have spikes or claws or some kind of offensive measure, they are intrinsically poisonous creatures. They eat incredibly toxic creatures, little poisonous insects and the like, a toxicity which they build up and can release through their skin when threatened. This poison needs to act very fast, because this defensive strategy is no good to a frog if they only kill the creature that has already swallowed them, so both creatures die a sort of mutually assured destruction. They want to prevent their deaths with this poison. And that's why, at roughly only 5 to 6 centimeters tall, poison dart frogs, specifically the golden ones, can produce enough poison to kill 10 grown humans. And it's exactly for this reason that the inhabitants of the Central and South American rainforests, where these little guys like to make their homes, well, the inhabitants like to capture these frogs and coat their weapons in the poison that they secrete, which gives these frogs, the poison dart frogs, their name. For them, it's an amazing hunting strategy, because if you can cover a ranged weapon in this poison, then in the dense thicket that is the canopy of a rainforest, if you only get a quick shot, you only get a small glance of something that's going to be your meal for the rest of the day, or perhaps your whole family's meal, you only need to strike them once, and you don't need to be necessarily a perfect shot if you know that you're definitely going to be able to bring them down with poison eventually. Absolutely incredible strategy. Now, just like their inspiration, the Grung dwell in wet, dense forests and produce a deadly toxin that characters can become a victim to if they touch a Grung's skin. Something that the Grung use to great effect by regularly grappling their foes. Because, as I say, all they need to do is make skin-to-skin contact to transfer this poison to another creature. Although they like to carry weapons, their deadliest weapon could literally just be hugging someone. They also coat most of their weapons in these poisons, so their dagger attacks, their bow attacks, things like that, all have a chance to poison players as well. But interestingly, rather than simply causing the poisoned condition, as we've seen many times before with creatures, upon the failure of a Constitution saving throw, the makers of the game have been way more interesting than that, and have presented an optional rule allowing DMs to access a variety of strange poison effects that a Grung can produce if their weapons or their skin touches players. We're told that green Grung cause a creature to be unable to move, except to climb or to make standing jumps. If the creature's flying, it can't take any actions or reactions unless it lands. Blue Grungs that poison you cause creatures to shout very loudly or make a really loud noise at the start or end of their turn. That throws stealth out of the window. Purple Grungs cause creatures to feel a desperate need to soak themselves in liquid or mud and can't take actions or move except to do so or to reach a body of liquid or mud. So perhaps a burning feeling all over their skin, perhaps even provoking opportunity attacks as they run away to coat themselves in something cold and wet. The red Grung poison creatures in a way that causes them to use their action to eat if food is within reach. A great way to distract people, and also what constitutes as food. It could even be something deadly. Orange Grungs frighten creatures, or rather make them terrified of their own allies upon the poison condition, and the gold Grung charm any creature that touches them if they are susceptible to their poison, but it also magically teaches the creature the language of Grung, so they are intrinsically slavers as a result of skin contact. Now these slimy, toxic little guys, I say little because they tend to grow to be no more than 2 or 3 feet tall, are hugely territorial and superior. They feel like any creatures that aren't naturally toxic like them have an inherent vulnerability. And furthermore, being immune to poisons and poison damage themselves, and using poisons as such a fundamental way to catch their food, and so on, they naturally correlate a susceptibility to poison to a creature being prey. As a result, these guys are hideously aggressive. These creatures are lawful evil, and the evil part being represented in their murderous nature, as I touched on before, their tendency to deal in slaves, and things like that. Now, they actually feed their slaves diluted versions of their poisons to keep them lethargic and placid. They're constantly drugged so that no rebellions occur. But the lawful part of this comes into play with their society. The Grung live in a caste-based society, wherein the colour of a Grung's skin denotes their status and role in their community. All green Grung are warriors, hunters, or labourers. Blue Grung are craftspeople. The purple Grung are admin, sort of supervisors or commanders. The red Grung are scholars and magic users, and the orange and gold Grung are the elite warriors. But interestingly, only the gold can be leaders, and this leader is known as the tribe sovereign. Interestingly enough, through admirable deeds, the Grung can move up ranks, or I suppose could be demoted and punished and moved ranks lower, despite the colours of their skin. And this process comes with a ritual involving strange alchemical tonics and magics performed by red caste members, which allow them to alter the colour of the skin of the Grung who is being promoted or demoted in this caste system so that they fit in with their new group. Now, all Grung are kind of on the lower end of the challenge rating spectrum. Regular Groung of various different colours are challenge rating 1/4 and have things like dagger attacks that deal 1d4 plus 2 piercing damage and some of their poison damage. The red Groung, known as wildlings, have bows, daggers, and also, as I mentioned, spellcasting abilities, mostly which they use best in groups because they tend not to be offensive spells so much as things like Cure Wounds, Jump, Bark Skin, or Plant Growth. The Grung elite warriors, similarly, just have daggers and short bows, but they also have something called a mesmerizing chur, which, like a breath attack, recharges on the roll of a 6 of a d6 at the start of their turn, which says that the Grung makes a churring noise to which Grungs are immune. Each humanoid or beast that's within 15 feet of the Grung are able to hear it, and if they can hear it, they need to succeed on a wisdom saving throw or be stunned until the end of the Grung's next turn. So these things are pack hunters. Really, you want to throw quite a lot of these creatures at players, and I think they're really good for people who were kind of interested in the minion system in 4th edition, where you could make a single attack against a creature and it would die, but you would throw legions and legions of these things at people. They work really well together because of their cluster of different poisons from different creatures. They have a nice mixture of ranged and close quarters abilities, and really it's their poisons that's going to be the most useful. Their dagger attacks are not particularly strong, but because they're so easy to underestimate, looking so cute and being so small and coming in so many numbers, players who are seeing them for the first time are likely to associate them with things like kobolds or goblins, things that they can easily swat away. But if you're smart and you coordinate attacks, stunning various creatures or distracting them with some of these strange poisons and then unleashing a hail of arrows from somewhere, these things are all really good at stealth. The lowest level Grung has +4 in stealth, and they all have a standing leap ability that allows them to long jump 25 feet or high jump 15 feet without a running start, so they can easily ascend into trees out of reach very, very quickly. They're also obviously all amphibious and can breathe water and air. And this water thing is actually their vulnerability, which I found kind of odd, because poison dart frogs, along with all frogs actually, have semi-permeable skin, which is why they're able to produce this toxin and for it to affect humans and things. And this absorption, this osmosis of water, is how they stay hydrated. However, poison dart frogs don't need to submerge themselves in water. Noticeably, just like the Grung, they don't have webbed toes, so they're not a frog species that is going to go swimming very often. But the Grung actually have a flaw called water dependency, which is the key to defeating these creatures if you are overwhelmed. Water dependency states that a Grung that fails to immerse itself in water for at least 1 hour during a day suffers 1 level of exhaustion. And at the end of the day, a Grung can recover from this exhaustion only through magic or by immersing itself in water for at least 1 hour. They're long showerers, guys. But personally, as a DM, I would rule that things like fire attacks or moves that drain the moisture from creatures would also be extremely effective against them, perhaps granting this level of exhaustion to all creatures affected. Maybe your fireball doesn't hit all of the Grung, but those within 5 feet of the radius of the blast are still hyperheated and start to dehydrate. Throwing alcohol on them might dehydrate them even quicker and cause them to become exhausted. So it's a good way to be inventive as a player if you know that these things are inherently reliant on staying moisturized to be in any way fighting fit. I feel like I could ramble on and on about these guys. They're really fun and full of untapped potential because they're so new, there's not much known about them. But I'd love to hear if you've used them in your campaign or if you've fought them in your current adventures and see how they appeared, how were they roleplayed, what did they behave like, because we're all learning about the Grung together now. Anyway, if you enjoyed today's video, please make sure to leave a little thumbs up down below. That helps YouTube know that I'm doing a good job. If you have a monster that you'd like to see me draw, make sure to leave that in the comment section below. And if you want to help this channel to grow, please make sure to share this video with some communities that you're a part of. We can only become max level adventurers with your help. If you like this content and you'd like to see more from me, I make a video every single Monday, so please make sure to subscribe and hit the little bell icon so that you never miss another one. All of that really, really helps the channel, guys, so thank you so much if you choose to do that. Otherwise, if you want to support the channel in a personal way, or rather I should say a more personal way, and you want to tip me personally the price of a cup of tea for making these videos for you every single month, and get a chance to vote on which monsters I draw next, I'd urge you to head over to Patreon. You can pledge as little as $1 a month to say thanks, or up to however much you like, and I offer different rewards as well as my way of saying thank you for helping me to make these videos, including things like a copy of every illustration that I draw this month, exclusive live streams where I talk about my adventures and things like that, and even one-on-one chats where we can talk about your adventures. I can do some drawing for you, or we can come up with ideas for character concepts, or I can help you with world building and things like that. So if you'd like to get involved with that, please make sure to head over to Patreon. Make sure, if you conduct any business transactions with a Groung, never to shake their hand on the deal, because you might just pass out and find yourself dinner for a family of Groung. And until next time, happy monster hunting.